On this episode of Fee-Based Financial Planning Mastery, I'm going to talk about CRM solutions and why a customer relationship management solution is the most powerful tool in your fee-based financial planning toolbox.
Running a successful fee-based financial planning business is tough, and escaping the shackles of a commission-based financial planning practice is terrifying. When all you want to do is learn from those who know, learn from financial planners who are there on the front lines doing it each and every day. What if you could just open their kimono and take a look inside to learn what works and what doesn't? Now there's a place where the secrets to running a fee-based financial planning business are revealed to those who believe. Fee-based financial planning mastery. Ease your mind.
Hi everyone, it's Scott Plaskett here, and thanks for joining me. In this podcast, you will learn what's working and what's not in the world of fee-based financial planning. In each episode, I'm going to open my kimono and let you take an insider's look at what's working and what's not in my practice to help you take your business to the next level. I've been a fee-based certified financial planner since the early 90s, so believe me, I know the challenges you're facing. So get ready to learn not from a teacher, coach, or guru, but from a colleague who's on the front lines just like you. And I'd like to invite you to subscribe to my email internet newsletter to get the most up-to-date tips on how to build and grow your fee-based financial planning practice by going to fee-basedfinancialplanningmastery.com. So what's new with me? Well, I tell you, I'm reading a great book right now. This book is called The Toilet Paper Entrepreneur. And if you haven't read this book, I highly recommend it. I tend to only read books by people who have really been in the trenches, who are, speaking from experience, not people who are speaking theoretically or anything like that. I really don't have time for people who think they know what they're talking about. I want to listen and read from people who know they know what they're talking about. Anyways, it's a fantastic book. It's very humorous writing style. The guy is definitely shooting from the hip when he writes, and you can just hear it come out. He's got such an interesting and a flair for his writing style. Anyways, it's really, really quite good. And really, if you're an entrepreneur, you need to read this book. It's creative, it's crafty solutions to really some challenging questions, and you're going to love it. What I'm going to do is I'll post a link to it in the recommended reading section of the website, and there you can link to it and go ahead and purchase it. I actually got my copy. It was a Kindle copy that I got on Amazon, so I'll link to that. And definitely go ahead and read it. I think it cost me all of $4. So it's a wonderful book. Anyways, I highly recommend it. Now, the other thing that's interesting is I found an amazing website that I'm actually using right now. Now, I don't know if you're at all like me, but I embrace technology. I like technology, but the one thing I suck at is graphic design. I don't know what it is. I haven't spent the time to learn what it takes to learn about how to design things. I can do the basics, but when it comes to, I don't know. It's just something I haven't taken the time to learn. And I've always struggled with, how do I get logos designed? How do I get good design work? And so we've, found designers, and we've paid them lots and lots of money. Well, I found a site that is amazing, because what it is, imagine this. Imagine if you want a logo designed. Could you imagine if you said, listen, I want a logo designed. This is what the name is of the company, or the name that I want on the logo. Here's what the kind of image I want it to project, and here's what I want it to portray. And then you had people come to you with finished logos saying, here, do you like this? Do you like this? You got to rate them all. You got to speak with each individual one and say, you know what, I like that, but I think I want to have maybe more primary colors here, or fade the background, or do something to it. They go back, they make the adjustments to it, and they come back to you. Well, I'm doing that right now. I think I've got 12 people who have come to me with finished logo designs. And they're all saying, this is what my vision is for your logo. Do you like it? Do you not? Give me some feedback. I'm giving them the feedback. They're all tweaking it and coming back. And then I get to choose the one that I like the best. and then that person gets paid. So it's amazing. It's cost me the cost of it. I think it's costing me all of $295 to have this done, where other logos have cost me a heck of a lot more. And now anyways, long story. It's an amazing site. So I'm going to put a link to it. It's called 99 Designs, and I'll put a link to that in the show notes as well. It's an affiliate link. You can click on that, go through, and just check it out. You can search and surf around and sort of check out some of the other designs that have been put together. You may even come across my design, but it's anyways. I'm just enamored with it because all these designs have come in. They're coming, and they're all really, really high quality designs. So highly recommend that. Go ahead, post your job there. You pay a flat fee for it. The finished products are created for you. You get to choose the one you want, and then you move forward. So I'm pretty excited about this. I think it's a great solution for getting some high quality work at a pretty decent rate. So definitely go and check that out.
And now for our feature segment.
Okay, so let's get right to it. CRM Solutions, the most important tool in your fee-based financial planning practice toolbox. Customer relationship management solutions. These are, I can't tell you how important it is to have a good CRM solution in your practice. Now, I've always been one to embrace technology. I have a love-hate relationship with it, though. I love it. When it works fantastically well. However, when it doesn't work, my entire life comes crumbling down. I mean, it just shuts down everything. I've got myself so wired in that, one interruption, one hiccup, it used to actually bring everything to a grinding halt. But I do understand the importance of good technology and incorporating that into your business, because you just simply, in this day and age, you cannot run a successful fee-based financial planning practice without it. So what is CRM software? Well, as I said before, customer relationship management solution or customer relationship management software, it involves using technology to organize, automate, and synchronize business processes. That's pretty much it. So it's all about automating and using technology to make your business run more efficiently. So why should you use a CRM solution? If you're not using one right now, I'm amazed when I meet other financial planners and financial advisors, and I ask them, what CRM solution are you using? And they tell me that they're using some basic, archaic, just a simple, I keep track of my, client's name, address, and telephone number, and maybe their email address, and that's about it. I'm completely blown away because you can't track enough information. You can't glean enough information from your database if you do it that way. So keeping track of everything that goes on with your clients and your business can be completely overwhelming if you don't have a really good CRM solution. The other thing that's important about why you should use a good CRM solution is, in our business, there's one overriding thing that we need to protect ourselves from, and that is from litigation, being sued, whatever. And so compliance, this CRM solution is a compliance savior. It does everything for you. If you set it up properly, the compliance mechanisms that you can build into your business practices are going to make it so that if you ever have to stand in front of a judge or anybody like that to explain yourself, you can say, no. This is how I do it, and I can prove that because it's our process, and we document everything. This is everything that's there. Here's copies of everything you're looking for. It just allows you to illustrate to anybody that you are operating from a well-organized fashion, and that adds a lot of credibility when it comes to any compliance challenges that you're going to have. So compliance, that's, you're going to get so much benefit from that. And the reality is, unfortunately with compliance, you don't need the compliance protection until you're actually being faced with a challenge. So it may be a lot of extra work up front to get the compliance protocols and best practices in place through your CRM solution. And then at the end of the day, you may never need to use it, but at least it's there when you need to use it. Now, you can automate a lot of your behind-the-scenes workflow with a good CRM solution. So what that means is that there's a lot of things are repetitive in our business. A lot of things just happen time and time again. And so you can automate that so you don't have to do as much thinking or remembering when it comes to managing the business processes that you have. So that's a real huge thing. That's one of the driving forces behind why I embraced a good CRM technology early on in my career. I knew it was important, and I really wanted to automate as many of the business processes as I could. And the reason why, the driving force behind that was that when I first started, I couldn't hire anybody. I couldn't afford to hire anybody. So I needed to be able to use my technology and leverage that technology to do a lot for me. So that was really a big benefit to building in a good CRM solution into my practice. Now, also using a good CRM solution, showing your clients how you use it, it really portrays a much more professional image. You want to be able to, you want to be seen as a true professional. And when a client sits down or a client calls and says, hey, I've got this question, can you, get back to me on this? And you say, hang on a second, let me just call up that document. You bring up an image of it, or you can access the information right at the tip of your fingers. It's really quite impressive. I mean, customer service is huge when you can gain access to the information people are looking for at a pretty quick way. I had a situation where we had a client, what was it, 4 or 5 years later, came to us and said, hey, they were no longer a client because they moved out of the country. And I can't remember where they moved to actually. Anyways, they moved out of the country. And 4 or 5 years later, they emailed me back out of the blue and said, hey, do you have a copy of, this tax return from way back when? I'm looking all over. And basically within a few minutes of receiving that email, I called up their record, went into the history, found the document they were looking for, attached it to the email, sent it back to them. And I got an email back saying, wow, that's impressive. So, it really does go a long way, because the next time, if they come back to Canada or if they make any recommendation, who are they going to recommend? They're going to recommend me, because I basically impressed upon them how serious I am about our job and our practice, and they've just seen that through the CRM solution that we had in place. A good CRM solution allows you to communicate and share information with your staff much more efficiently. It allows you, when you have common calendars and you can basically go and check out somebody else's calendar, or you can check out somebody else's notes, you can see what notes they've attached. And maybe if somebody else touched a file while you were on vacation, you come back, you can take a look at things and see what's been going on. It just allows for a lot less, by the way, Sally, can you tell me about this, when it's already there. You just go into the notes section, you check it out, you look at the history, you see what's been going on. Chances are you can answer your question. You don't have to bother your staff on a lot of that. It also, you can use it to manage the effectiveness of your marketing campaigns. When you spend the time and effort into putting together a marketing campaign, you want to be able to know at the end of the day whether or not it worked for you. So you can use a good CRM solution to allow you to manage those and extract the key metrics that are going to tell you whether or not that campaign was profitable or not. And oftentimes, you won't know until perhaps a year later, after the campaign was done, whether or not it was profitable. Or you may have a campaign that maybe got a lot of leads for you and you were able to convert some of those leads, but maybe one campaign that you did that generated just a couple of leads, but those leads turned into really good, big, great clients to work with. A year later, you go and you check out your stats, and it says, that particular program where you got just a couple of leads, but those were such high quality leads, the value of that campaign was the highest of all the campaigns. So you can, have it track things for you while life goes on, and it's pretty powerful. You can use it to manage the effectiveness of your sales funnel. So when you're dealing with your sales funnel, you basically are recognizing opportunities that you want to take advantage of and capitalize on. So all those opportunities will go through a bit of a sales process. So a lot of times, the question might be, well, where are we with that particular case, and what's going on with this particular client file? And is that client coming in for a meeting? Are they going to come in for the second meeting? And where are we at with all that? Well, very quickly, you can set things up properly. So with a good CRM, you can hit a button and it says, well, here's everything right now. Here's your sales funnel. This is what's happening. You got this many people who are, set up for an introduction meeting, this many people who are coming back for a second meeting, this many people who are basically right on the verge of their final meeting, which is where they're going to say yes or no. So it just allows you to manage that very quickly. And you can use it to extract, key metrics on your overall business. It's not just your marketing and your sales, but, you can take a look at it and just manage, well, how is the workflow going? You can, when you've automated your processes and you've got the business workflow and the paper flow that's working through your business, you can, check it out and see, well, is this working efficiently, or is this not as efficient? Because, if you're sitting down and it takes you, more steps to pull up a client image file for a client document, maybe you can then tweak things. And so it just allows things to just operate much more quickly. It forces you to look at the business processes and the best practices that you've got in your practice in a much more sequential and logical fashion. So that's why you should be using a CRM solution. Now, which solution type should you use? And the reason why I say solution type is because there's really two types. Now, this is fairly new. So understand that, back in the 90s and early 2000s, these other types that I'm going to talk about didn't exist. They exist now. And if you're not embracing them, then, you may be missing out on some technology that could be really, really powerful in your practice. Well, the two types of solutions you can be looking at are client-based solutions or cloud-based solutions. Now, when I say client-based, what I'm not referring to is I'm not referring to your clients. I'm referring to the fact that the software that you're running is actually on your machine. And so a client-based solution means that you've got a program that you double-click on an icon on your machine. You can tell I'm a PC user because you double-click on it. Actually, I don't know. Do you double-click on an icon for Macs? Maybe you do. I don't know. I've never used one, but or I've used one, but I haven't used it very, very much. And anyways, as I said in previous episodes, I really would like to convert over to a Mac. I just haven't gone that route yet. Anyways, when it comes to the client-based solution, it resides on your computer. So you've actually got a program that's running on your computer, and the database is actually on your computer. Now, it probably does require a server. So if you have an assistant, or if you have more than one person working on a database, working on your CRM, then the reality is you're probably going to need a server, which is going to be the main database hub that's going to keep everything organized, and then everybody in the office will link into that server. And so the server technology is sort of a network that allows you to work together, and everybody gets to see real time what's going on, but you do need that server box in order to run that back end of the software. It also requires you to pay for your own security solutions. So you need to make sure that when you've got the database of all that key and private information that you're retaining for your client files, all that information is on your server. Well, it's up to you then to protect that data, to put security measures in place so that nobody can either hack into, through your firewall, through the internet, hack into it or steal it or whatever. So you need to put all these different security mechanisms in place. That can be extremely expensive. I know when we were running a server, we probably spent $8,000 to $10,000 just on the box, the server machine. I called it Darth Vader because it was in our server room and it just had this horrible, mean black looking box with lights on it that made it look, anyways, it looked like Darth Vader. And this is the server. And so we needed to have all these security measures in place to make sure that people couldn't log into that server from outside of our office without certain protocols, and they couldn't log into it inside the office without certain protocols. And if they stole the server, that they couldn't access the information. So there was a lot of technology we needed to put in, and there was a lot of expense to that technology. So, it does require a lot. Oftentimes, the solution as well is either PC-based or Apple-based. So you can't have one solution, one CRM solution that will run on, two platforms. Maybe you can now. As you can hear, I'm not part of a client-based solution right now. I've gone to the other base solution, which is a cloud-based solution. So I don't have to worry about that. And maybe they've bridged that gap. But the reality is when I was working on a client-based solution and I had a server, I could only use, it was either PC-based or it was Mac-based or Apple-based. And you really couldn't have two working together. So, and that was because the program that we needed to install on our machine had to be able to install. It was either a PC-based program or an Apple-based program. So keep that in mind as well. The other thing is that the solution, one of the challenges we had was that it didn't oftentimes work perfectly with the other software that we had. For example, one of the solutions we had used to have its own document writer in it. So we would have to create all of our templates, client letters and forms and all this sort of stuff in this particular document writer. Well, the problem with that was that the document writer wasn't as robust as Microsoft Word was. So we were limited, we could do a little bit, we just couldn't do a lot. We couldn't make it look as good as we wanted to. So, that always frustrated me. And then they finally came out and said, oh no, but now we've got a link so you can use Microsoft Word. And sure enough, it worked well, but it didn't work perfectly at first. And there were glitches and there were bugs and we had to get, it was a bit of a nightmare. I mean, that's probably been fixed now. now. I think everybody, a lot of the companies have kind of embraced that Microsoft Word is, on a PC side, is the primary word processing program, and maybe not, but the reality is that they had to make some changes there. So it doesn't always work with the other solutions. It doesn't always work with some of the other software. We had situations where it was creating conflicts with other software. So keep that in mind as well. And the client-based solution, so it is subscription, generally subscription based. So you would pay for the number of licenses you were going to use. You got a discount the more licenses you had. And the thing that was interesting in one of the programs that we used, we would have to, if we wanted to keep support, we would have to upgrade every year. And so that was fine. I mean, that was all part and parcel of it. I know other people who have, taken advantage of the software and they've implemented and utilized it, and then they never upgrade it. They just keep it on the same version, and then they never worry about it too much. Generally, those are people who don't spend a lot of time on really fine-tuning and tweaking their CRM. They just sort of use it for the basics. And if that's all you're using it for, then that's pretty much all you need to do. But, I do know one colleague of mine who basically the company's come back to him and said, okay, you know what, you have to upgrade now because we are no longer even, supporting anything to do with that particular version. And so now he's up against the challenge of, well, if I upgrade, the upgrade is it's like going to a brand new program because the company rewrote their entire program, along the way. He's on the old version. The new version is like a whole brand new set of software. So for him to do the upgrade, he's got to, do a major overhaul. So it's forcing him to sort of reanalyze things. So that's a client-based solution. So client-based simply means it resides on your machine, on your server, and then you're in control of it. And so you just need to make sure that you've got a lot of the technology that allows you to, access it from outside of the office or synchronize from being away from the office. And so that's all pretty much entirely up to you and the IT person that you use in order to keep that program running properly. Now, the other option was what I said, the cloud-based option. Now, cloud-based is simply the solution now resides on the internet. So you don't have to worry about having a server. All you need is an internet connection and a web browser. Okay, it doesn't care what hardware you use. So you can use a PC, Mac, it doesn't matter. As long as you have an internet browser, you can use that browser, log onto your system, and now you're running off of the cloud or the cloud-based solution. Now, the real benefit to that is internet. Using it through the internet browser doesn't really require a lot of resources and power from your machine. So in this environment now, on a cloud-based solution, a really, really old computer will work just fine. So you may not have to upgrade your computers as often. You're not going to notice things slow down as software, as the patches come through with Microsoft and Apple, and as they, upgrade their software. It just seems to be, in my experience anyways, that every time I get an upgrade or a patch or an update from Microsoft, the machine just seems to run slower and slower and slower. There's more involved in the new version of the software. There's more, I don't know, it just requires more computer processing power. Whereas when you're internet based, it's really just it's the speed of your internet connection, and that's really it. And the internet or the web browser doesn't require a lot of resources, so any machine will really work on it. So that's kind of an interesting one as well. The security is now provided by the hosting company. So you do want to look into making sure that any cloud-based solution has really, really high-end security. And once they've got the security in place, the reality is that the hosted cloud-based solution will probably be able to afford much, much higher level of security than you could ever afford. Because remember, they're doing it not for just you, but for their entire client base. So when you pool your resources together, you can get such powerful security solutions that are put in place that really, add to the credibility of what you're doing. The other thing is that the software has a common language. Cloud-based software has a common language to speak to other cloud-based solutions. So it's so simple and easy to maintain because the API that's being used, it's just a matter of having one machine talk to the other. And when one company says, okay, now we work with this particular, these two programs can talk together, when it works, it just simply works. So there's not really a lot of customization that has to go into things. You don't have to do a lot of that customization work and a lot of the programming work that I know I've had to do in the past with our solutions where, in order to get two machines or two systems to talk to one another, we'd have to get a programmer in there, and they'd have to map everything out and link things together. And so we don't really need to do that anymore. And then you just simply pay for the users that the number of users that you want. So obviously, if you're buying more in bulk, then you do get a discount, which is similar to the client-based solution. And you just simply pay a monthly fee and use it for as long as you need to. So I really, really like the cloud-based solution. I think the cloud-based solution is the way of the future. More and more companies are migrating to cloud-based because it allows them. I mean, their efficiencies are all over the place. Number one, when there's a software update, everybody gets updated at the same time. You don't have to then worry about, I've got to, get all my staff machines updated. And so I've got to bring somebody in to do the update and run the patch. And then, inevitably when you do the update, it doesn't work properly. Something needs to be tweaked. Something, I don't know. There's always something that I had to hire somebody to come and do whenever there was an update or a patch. I get notification from the software company that, hey, there's a new update. And the latest version has now been released and available. Then I'd contact my IT guy and they'd say, no, we're not going to upgrade anybody because we recognize there's some bugs. We're going to wait. We don't want to cause any more problems. So we'd have to wait for all the new technology. It was just a pain in the butt. And I didn't like it. And so I really, was happy to have migrated to a cloud-based solution. So what have I used and what do I use now? Well, my life started when it comes to CRM. My life started in a program called Maximizer. I'm sure if you're in this space or if you've ever been looking for different solutions, you're aware of what Maximizer is. Maximizer has been around for a long, long time. I used it very successfully. I loved Maximizer when I was working on it. I learned a lot to do with it. I was able to program myself in it. So it was just something that I embraced. And I had Maximizer working. I was totally maxing out the resources on it. I was using every possible thing I possibly could. Now, the challenge was that I got to a point where I was using, so much. And then I said, okay, now can it do this? And they'd say, well, no, it can't do that. Okay, well, can we do this? Well, no, you're kind of a power user. Not very many people do that. Well, you know what? I wanted to do that. So it forced me to look around. And I looked around and I said, you know what? I want much more automation. And that's what the limiting factor was, is that with the original or the version of Maximizer that I was using, I was somewhat limited on how much automation I could create. I had, programming that was done and that I was able to do that, was phenomenal. But I got to the point where I was somewhat limited on the resources and what I could do. So I had to make a change. Well, then I came across a program called Goldmine. And for any of you who know Goldmine, in my mind, from a client-based solution, if I wasn't really working on a cloud-based solution, Goldmine would be the solution I'd be working on. It was something I worked on before because there's a lot of fantastic technology in Goldmine. I highly recommend Goldmine if you're on a client-based solution because of its automation features. Now, for whatever reason, not many people know about the automation features in Goldmine. I used it extensively. I had this great programmer that we would always turn to, and he would come in and I'd say, listen, can you do this? And he'd say, oh yeah, it was simple. You do this, and he would do it. And I would say, okay, wait, if you can do that, can you do this? And here's what I'm trying to do. Here's what I'm struggling with. Can I automate this? Absolutely. It was the technology on the automation side of Goldmine was phenomenal. Now, the thing that I didn't like about Goldmine was that it tracked everything. And my database, we were a niche financial planning firm, so we're not a very large financial planning firm. Well, I would get comments from the programmer saying, your database is huge compared to, huge companies that are using this program. What is it you're doing? Well, we were doing so much and we were using it so well that unfortunately the resources that I required from my server just kept on, things would start to crap out and things would not work as well. So even the $8,000 to $10,000 server that I had just simply wasn't enough. And then I find out afterwards that Goldmine likes to run on its own server with no other resources. So you need to buy a special box just for that server. And anyways, I just got very frustrated with that I had so much data in there and so much information. And what I ended up realizing was the way that it tracked things and the way that it did things was that I had too much information, so much information, and information that really didn't make much of a difference that I didn't need to track. However, it was tracking it anyways. It was keeping tabs of it. And so it was just bogging things down. So then I said, okay, you know what? I found out about this whole cloud-based solution and I really started embracing it, and I recognized and I saw that, it makes things run so much more efficiently. And all I need is an internet connection. So now the reality is if you go to our server room, you're going to see in the corner a little box with a red light on it. And all I care about is that red light stays on, because if that red light stays on, that means that I've got an internet connection, and that means everybody can work on it. So we went with a program called Salesforce.com. And again, it is probably, I think it is the leader in cloud-based CRM solutions. So it is just a phenomenal program. And the thing that's so amazing about it is that I'm working on the same program that a Fortune 500 company is working on. And when the Fortune 500 company, when they get a software update, I get the software update. So everybody's sort of treated equally in this scenario because everybody's on the same platform, and it just works, so much better. It's proven to be a very, very beneficial, good move. The other thing that it hasn't done, we haven't seen it crap out. We haven't seen crashes. We haven't seen any of that. Since we migrated over to Salesforce.com, Kathy, my partner, and my staff, nobody's complaining. Nobody's saying, hey, it's not working or it's down or whatever. I haven't gotten any of those questions. And, nobody's calling me and saying, hey, I need some assistance. This isn't working. Can you help me with this? No, it just simply works. It's one of those things where, you'd expect it just to work. Well, guess what? It does. So why do I prefer Salesforce.com and cloud-based solutions? Well, number one, very, very easy to set up. If you know how to log onto the internet, you know how to set it up. So getting your staff set up is simple. You basically just say, look, here's the website. Here's your user ID, here's your password, log in, and then we'll go through a bit of an orientation. And because it's all internet-based, people just get it. There's not a lot of learning of the software. And if you want to customize it, it's very simple. If you don't like where the field is on this particular page, then click Edit, move it over, and click Save, and it moves it over. So, the ease at which we can customize the program, make it work for you, make it look like you want it, it's just amazing how it works. Maintenance of it, a cinch. There is no maintenance. All the maintenance is done behind the scenes. It's all done for you. Everybody, and as I say, when you're working on the same platform that a company like Dell is working on, and Dell uses Salesforce.com, I'm using Salesforce.com. When the system goes down, well, guess what? It's down for Dell as well. Well, guess what? They're going to have such redundancy because they just simply can't afford to have a company like Dell's system go down. So you've got redundancy built into the whole program, where before, when my server would go down or if my server would crash and we'd have to reboot it or something went wrong, I was down. The whole office was down. And I'd then have to call my IT guy, have it put in an emergency call. Well, guess what emergency means? You got to pay more for it. They would come right out. They would try and get it fixed. Well, you know what? That took a day at least. Whereas with the redundancy that's built in with cloud-based solutions, they have 3, 4, 5 different mirrored servers all around the world. So you can have something go on, in North America, and suddenly, boom, you're moved over to Europe and you're working off of the European servers. So it really is, the redundancy that's built into it is phenomenal. As I said before, you can probably glean from what I'm talking about, there's no server required. So you don't need that Darth Vader box in your server room anymore. It's just simply you need an internet connection. So now you don't have to worry about networking everybody together. You just need to get everybody on the internet. So you could do it wirelessly if you wanted, whatever works for you. It just makes it so much easier. The other thing that's amazing is to customize it and to sort of add different solutions and different ways, and, can it do this? Can it do that? Well, what Salesforce has done is they've created a system where other companies can now come forward and say, well, I'm going to design a program that runs on Salesforce or with Salesforce, and it's going to do this. So, for example, they have an area called the App Exchange. And when you go into the App Exchange, there are hundreds and thousands of different programs that are designed to run and work with Salesforce.com. So, an example of that could be integrating my Constant Contact database with my Salesforce database. So I now can put together a Constant Contact email communication piece, and I can send it from Salesforce using the email addresses that are local in my Salesforce database, and then it tracks everything, and it keeps track of it all, and it shows me who opened it and who opened up what particular email, and it shows me what emails they received, and it's just all right there. So I've now almost got Constant Contact within my Salesforce, and it's amazing. Setting up these applications is simple. You basically go to it, you find one you like. I mean, there's one that we're looking at now, which is one that it's just a small little app that basically says, anytime your client has a birthday, we're going to set up a birthday template, and it's going to automatically send them a birthday email on the day of their birthday. Well, there's some automation right there that I totally love. So how do I set it up? I click on it. I say, look, I like this application. I'd like to install it. And it's done. And that's it. You hit install. You say, great, this is my user ID and password for my instance, and I'm an administrator on the Salesforce. It says, great, it's now installed. You can now use the program. And that's it. I didn't have to hire anybody for that. The program was free. So, it's amazing, especially when you consider that a lot of these programs that are in the App Exchange, I mean, a lot of the programs are free. And if they're not free, they're next to free. So anyways, it's the bolt-on solutions that you can use. Really, you just imagine anything you'd want to be done, that you'd want to automate or have your CRM solution do, somebody's probably written an app for it. The other thing that's great is, from a cloud-based solution standpoint, we've embraced working with Google and Google Apps for Business. So it completely integrates with Google. So what that means is, now, instead of having to have, like an Outlook database for my email and all that sort of stuff, I now use Gmail for our corporate email. And what that means is, now I've got all the amazing functionality, and I've got all the storage and the ease at which I can recall and find information, all for business. And it's all through my Gmail account. So I've got a Gmail account. We basically point our mail exchange record to our Google account. So now anybody who sends an email to me, it still goes it's not at gmail.com, it's at mycompany.com. So they don't know anything about it. I can access my email from anywhere, from any device, doesn't matter. It's just so user friendly, and it integrates beautifully and seamlessly with Salesforce.com. So that's a real powerful thing. And I mean, Google Apps, what is it? I think it cost me $50 per user per year. So, I mean, dirt cheap when it comes to setting all that up. The point-and-click customization is amazing. So whenever you do want to, if you're looking at your instance of Salesforce, say, I don't like where that particular thing is. I don't like where it shows up on the screen. Well, move it. And then boom, you just click it, drag it over, move it, and it's moved. So it's amazing front end, from a visual customization standpoint, you can do so much. The automation solutions, oh my gosh. No longer do you have to worry about having the proper hardware to run these solutions. It's all run, in the cloud. So you don't have to worry about, is your server powerful enough or anything like that. The automation solutions, it's so intuitive. It's so amazing at what it can do. I haven't even scratched the surface, and I'm doing so much more than I really had ever imagined I could do when it comes to sort of automation of things. I mean, I have reports that are emailed to me automatically that I would usually take 10, 15, 20 an hour of time to create once a month. Well, now every once a month on the day that I ask for it, boom, it gets sent to my inbox, and it's just there. I don't have to worry about it. The report's already created, and it's emailed to me. So, being able to do that and set things up where it just happens on an automated basis is incredibly powerful. So if you can map out your unique process, then you can tie all that into the workflow and the automation workflow that Salesforce allows for. So if you know what happens when, and you have certain things that happen in between meetings and before meetings, and prep that has to be done for certain meetings, and emails that get sent out at certain times, just program all that in. Say, okay, for this particular meeting, when this stage gets hit, then automatically assign these tasks to my staff. And then when this stage gets hit, automatically assign these tasks to my staff. When this happens, automatically send this email. And it just happens. So you get a little bit of time up front to map it all out. But once it's all mapped out, it just works. And if you don't like how it's working, then you just tweak it as you go along. So it's really simple and easy to do. The security, as I mentioned, is second to none. So you get high-end security, which is great. Anywhere, anytime, any computer, access all the time. So you don't necessarily have to be tied down to your machine, with only your machine having the database. If you're at a friend's place, you need to check into something, whatever, then you can just log onto the system, your user ID and password, boom, you're all set to go. Amazing mobile solutions. I mean, now with the iPhone and the iPad, and believe me, I used to be a BlackBerry nut, and I couldn't imagine going to a BlackBerry now. It's my preference, but the iPhone and the iPad take it to a whole new level. If you haven't gone the iPad and iPhone route, I strongly suggest you do. The solutions that are in place for, integrating with the iPads and iPhones are amazing. I mean, literally, I can virtually run my business virtually, not completely, but virtually from my iPhone. There's really not much I can't do with my iPhone. Now, sometimes it's a little small, and that's where I go to my iPad to do some of that work. But, there have been times I've tested myself. I said, okay, I'm going to take a day. I'm only going to take with me my iPad, and I'm going to go and work in a coffee shop. I work all day in the coffee shop on my iPad, never needed a computer, never needed anything. It was just phenomenal the way I was able to do that. So you can really embrace, being remote, being virtual. The apps that are being created for the iPad and the iPhone are simply amazing. And the way you can integrate them with your Salesforce instance is also amazing. The other thing I love about virtual or being cloud-based is that your storage is virtually limitless. So your storage limitations, you really don't have any. Whereas, my limitations with my server were, how big's the hard drive? Well, I'd have, 4 hard drives that were mirrored. So that was great. I had redundancy kind of built in, but if that whole box went down, I was lost. But still, I'd then have to buy bigger and bigger hard drives in order to manage all that. Well, now I don't have to worry about that ever again. And, there's a term in the Salesforce which is called a dashboard. And the dashboards are great because once you've got all this set up, you can then say, okay, now what I want to do is all the reports, all the stuff that I have going on in my CRM, I want a dashboard that reports to me all the key metrics. I want to know what my lead status is. How many leads do I have that I'm working on? How many opportunities am I working on? What are the greatest opportunities? What are the opportunities that maybe have stalled and I need to really, push them forward or touch them again? So it does all this for me, and I just simply click a button, and then it refreshes the dashboard, and I know exactly what I need to be doing. So it sort of draws your attention to the most important parts of your business, and you really can't ask for more on that. So what's the biggest benefit you're going to get from Salesforce.com? In my mind, it's tracking. The methodology that Salesforce.com is just so much better. They have leads. Well, in any business, you have leads that you're working on. And then once those leads become a client, well, you convert them to a client. So now you've got leads, sort of it's like a separate little database. You've got your database of leads, you've got your database of clients, but then you've also got your database of opportunities. So of those clients that you're working on, well, now if you identify opportunities, maybe there's a financial planning opportunity, maybe there's an investment opportunity, maybe there's an insurance opportunity, a living benefits opportunity, whatever that happens to be, you can identify these are all the opportunities that I work on. When you identify them going through review meetings with clients, you can then say, oh, I recognize that opportunity, and then you can start a process that you've pre-set up to help move that opportunity forward. And then you never lose track of it. So you never have to worry about, what do I work on next? The system will tell you. The system will move things forward for you, and the system will tell you what you need to spend your time on. So, being able to follow that methodology, it's very logical, very sequential, and it just simply makes sense. And I haven't really seen another CRM solution that handles things like that, the opportunities. And this is one of the driving things sold me on Salesforce, was the fact that it really did have good opportunity tracking. So, following those opportunities through is phenomenal. So the other thing is, what other solutions do I integrate with my Salesforce.com? Well, we talked about one, which is Google Apps. That's where it's $50 per user per year. You get all the benefits of all the Gmail and Google Docs and Calendar and anything that goes into having a Google account. And that's just powerful in itself. So the fact that it integrates in is amazing. Another one that I'm using a lot of these days is what's called Dropbox. Now, you may have heard of Dropbox, you may not have. If you haven't heard of Dropbox, check it out. It's a free service, and what it does is it basically gives you a hard drive in the clouds. So on your computer, let's say you had certain files that you want to have access to if you're away from the office and you don't have your computer with you. Well, just simply put it in your Dropbox, and now it stores it on the cloud for you. It's also on your computer. Well, let's say you're working remotely and you have an assistant that you want to share a file with. Well, then share a particular file in your Dropbox, so consider it a file folder, put a folder in your file folder that you're sharing with your assistant, and then anytime you drop a file or a document or something in that particular folder, what it does is it keeps a copy on your computer, puts a copy in the clouds, but also sends a copy to her computer or their computer or his computer. And so what it means is you've now got this copy everywhere. And then if they, for example, take that copy and they use the file, as soon as they take it out of their Dropbox, it removes it from the Dropbox. So now you don't have to run the risk of duplicating a file or whatever. So it's a great way of sharing information with other people. So I have a virtual assistant. So oftentimes what I'll do is I'll create a folder that I share information within that folder with my virtual assistant. Well, my virtual assistant's in the Philippines. So what do? Drop the folder in there, boom. Or drop the file in there and boom. What happens? He instantly gets it. So I send him an email and say, okay, I put a video file in your Dropbox. Can you edit it for me? And it's already there. I don't have to worry about it. So, you can really, really take advantage of that. And that's how it works. It gives me a sense that I've got some backups. Like if my computer ever got stolen or crashed or whatever, I can go to my Dropbox. I can then say, you know what? I don't want to then share anything with my computer because I no longer have it. And if they happen to get into my computer, then maybe they can get those files. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off the share. Instantly turns off the share. The next time that person opens up the computer, all those files are gone. So, you can control things really, really well. And the redundancy is just fantastic. I've had times where I've had a folder or file in my Dropbox. I'm out somewhere. I've got only my iPad. I use the Dropbox application on my iPad and say, here, let me just show you that file that I was telling you about. Open it up. There it is. It's all set to go. Works with my iPhone as well. So it really is powerful. So you can set up a free account with Dropbox, and I'd highly recommend you go and just play with it. It's a free account. There's nothing to do. And here's the cool thing. If you go into our show notes, okay, you can get an instant free storage upgrade. So what they're doing is a free account, you get 2 gigabytes of free storage. Well, if you sign up for your free account through the link that I've put in the show notes, then you're going to get the free account 2 gigs, but you're also going to get an extra 250 megabytes. And then I'm going to get an extra amount of storage as well. So simply, it's a free service. It just helps us both out. So go ahead, do that. Set up your Dropbox, use the link that I've got in the show notes, and then everybody gets more storage, and it's all for free. And then share it with your friends. Tell your friends about it and say, hey, I've now got my account set up. Here's the link, and it gives you the link when you set your account up. Here's the link. Go set your own account up, and as soon as they do that, you now get more storage. So you can actually build your amount of free storage way above 2 gigabytes, never having to pay for it. So it's phenomenal. So definitely do that. Take advantage of the Dropbox link. Go there, share it with your friends. Go through the link that's on the show notes. That'll give you some instant storage increase right off the bat, and then just carry on with it. I also use an email automation program. So what I've got in our practice, we've got scenarios where, we maybe are trying to follow up with somebody and there's an opportunity that we're working on and maybe they just, for whatever reason, just aren't responding. Well, we don't want to be badgering them. We don't want to be bugging them too much. So what I've done is I've created this email, it's called Follow-Up Robot. And it's an automated process that as soon as I say, okay, take this campaign, which I've mapped out, which has a whole series of emails, I want to assign this client to that particular campaign, then I forget about it. And it's a set of automated emails that gets dripped out to the client saying, hey, just wanted you to be aware, you showed some interest in this. I just want to, find out, are you still interested? If you are, just give me a shout. And I tell you, since I've been using that, it's amazing. And people get busy. They forget. Well, I put this together and suddenly I get an email back saying, you know what, I know we really need to be dealing with this. Sorry, I haven't called you back, but let's deal with this now. I didn't have to do anything for that. All I had to do was put them on the program and the system handled it for me, and it was all free. So, take advantage of things like that as well. And that's one thing you can get through Salesforce.com, the App Exchange. There's something called a Follow-Up Robot. I talked about Constant Contact and the way we integrate Salesforce with our Constant Contact database. So, that's another tool that I'm using. And there's just so many more applications and apps that you can use. There's just hundreds of thousands of them in there. Anything you want to do, whether it be automated faxing or social networking or whatever you want to do, the more you read about all the different applications, the more you realize, wow, there's so much I could do for automating my business. It's unreal. So go to fee-basedfinancialplanningmastery.com and click on episode 6. There, you can post any questions you'd like me to answer from this episode, or post any questions on topics you'd like me to cover in upcoming episodes. Also, check out our Toolbox and recommended reading list and see the listing of other resources I use to run my successful fee-based financial planning practice. I'm listing them all there. Click on them, use them. The majority of them are free services that you can use. I use them every day, and I highly recommend you check them out. And don't forget to get your free Dropbox account. Click on the link in the show notes and boost your free storage. So get out there and build yourself a better practice.
You've been listening to Scott E. Plaskett, a certified financial planner and industry veteran in the world of fee-based financial planning. Want free resources to help you build a better fee-based financial planning firm? Visit ilovefinancialplanning.com right now to register for Scott's Inner Circle email list, where you'll get front-of-the-line updates on the latest resources that are driving profits to Scott's fee-based financial planning practice. All of the resources are pulled directly from the highly acclaimed Fee-Based Financial Planning Mastery Academy. Go now to ilovefinancialplanning.com. Build a better business and make more money with your fee-based financial planning practice today.